Looking gorgeous.
Laura, why are you laughing? I want to know why you're laughing. What did I miss? I feel like I'm late.
No, you're good. No. I was doing the same thing earlier. I was like, oh my God, my makeup was the whole way down.
What was I doing? I don't even.
No, you weren't. You were fixing your hair, but I was like, oh, I was just doing this.
Hi again.
Hello.
I love it. I see Patty's on. We have a little celebrating to do, and Joanna's on. Welcome, Joanna. I'm so excited. I know people usually take a couple of minutes to get in. I have a hard start in an hour. I have 3 back-to-back one-on-one coaching clients geared up for today. Many of you know I was on vacation. That's why we're meeting on Wednesday. And last week, we did our session on forgiveness, and we met on Monday. So as I was preparing for this workshop today, I was like, oh my gosh, it's been so long. It's been weeks since I've seen everyone. I can't wait to see everyone again. And it has only been a week. It has only been 9 days. I feel like I completely relaxed on vacation. We went to a wedding in St. John, and it was just so full of love, which makes me think of Valentine's Day. So happy Valentine's Day to everybody. If you are able, I would love, love, love for you to come off camera. You do not have to. Do whatever makes you feel most comfortable. Studies have obviously shown, we all know this as HR practitioners, when we're leading Zooms, that when you come off Zoom, you're just more apt to really give yourself the whole hour. And that's the beauty of HR Empower Hour. This hour is for you. This hour is not about catching up on emails. It's not about sneaking in a few more phone calls. It's not about catching up on your Slack. This is really about you, truly about you. So Patty, I don't know, you may not be at your desk. I know Patty mentioned a couple of weeks ago that she was very, very short staffed. Their HR person left. Do you like how I'm like telling your story? Hi, Patty. Patty, I'm just wondering if you're willing to share what you shared with me yesterday. Oh, wait, you're on mute. Sorry.
Hi, everybody. Good morning. Yes, I think it was, what was it? It was maybe the week of February 1st, on that Thursday, maybe, that we talked,
Okay.
and how I was feeling, like, oh, changes are happening. And
Yes.
our HR manager on, my sister property is no longer there, so I'm gonna be helping both. And I was like having a little anxiety of like, how am I gonna handle that again? And
Yes.
the one person for 2 properties. And how am I gonna have that conversation with the people I support, so they know that I'm committed, and and that they know the expectations, and I know how I can serve them better. And how am I gonna have that conversation with my bosses, so I know
Yes.
what I'm
Oh my
getting
gosh, it's
into?
all coming back. Yes, yes, yes.
It was just like, I don't know what's gonna happen, and I don't know, and like we talked about even like setting boundaries, and kind of like, for my own mental health and my well-being, to see, okay,
That's right.
this is as much as I can stretch to help both, because I knew I was like, I'm not gonna be able to pick up everything 100% and do 100% both places. So as all
That's
of that
right.
was happening on that, like 2 Thursdays ago, that next day, I talked to my bosses, and they were like, well, you know, given how everything is changing, they offered me to be assistant director of HR for both properties. And they were like, so why don't we just, have you oversee both position at the level that they need, and that you're ready to be. And I'm like, oh my gosh. I was like, well, that's not where the conversation was going to go. I was ready to say, maybe I can help with this, and I think this needs to be put on pause. Like, it went a different completely way, and they were just presenting this scenario to me, and it was so amazing. And then they will backfill the position of that other HR FTE,
Okay.
with a coordinator that is going to help me. So all of the admin and all of the day-to-day and all of like the payroll stuff, and all of those admin
Yeah.
that I was doing for the one place that I was so concerned about having to do for the both places, because that's what usually takes the most.
Yes.
Then I'm gonna be able to transfer that to this position. So then it's gonna be, I'm gonna have my person reporting to me. So I was like, oh, so
Oh my, Patty, like, what a totally different conversation than what you were expecting. I love that you walked in like thinking about all the things, and they're like, by the way, we'd love to offer you a promotion.
yes, yes. I was
Oh
so
my gosh, Patty.
excited. I was like about to like drop, like I was just like plopping on my chair, and I was meeting with my bosses, and like my director and the VP of HR, and we were talking, and they were so kind, and they
Yay.
recognized that I don't know if some of you know, but like I helped them before when we were kind of like figuring it out if we were going to hire an HR person for that property, and then we ended up hiring that person that now left us. But I was helping, but I was like, at the same time, it was help. It was not at that higher level HR that they absolutely need, which was impossible just for one person. So I'm excited. So we're gonna be recruiting for an HR coordinator. If you know of anybody, please send them my way.
You know what? Yeah, Tanya. Yeah, Tanya's like, I'm in, or do you know people?
No, I'm in. How do I register? How do I apply?
Yeah, we can get in contact. I'll send you my information, and you can send over
Yeah,
your resume, of course.
direct message each other. I love that. Have at it. This is, I wouldn't say it's a free for all, but absolutely about connection. Absolutely about getting to know one another. And in that process, that also helps us do exactly why we're on this call today, is getting out of our own way. Getting out of our own way. What conversations do we need to be having? What thoughts do we need to be choosing? What feelings do we want to evoke? And what behaviors do we want to embrace?
Mhm.
And it's all about the way we get out of our own way is really just unlearning. It's unlearning things that we may not even probably realize are learned behaviors, are learned skill sets that we can completely unlearn to start going down a whole new path, which is why today is so fun. I haven't taught on this topic in a year. Laura and I just had a call, and I was like, I haven't talked about this in a year. This is one of my favorite topics, because oftentimes we tell ourselves narratives and stories that my boss is in my way. I didn't get that promotion, so that's in my way. Or stories of, well, I could never make as much money as I'm making now, so I'm not going to go for that promotion. I'm not going to look for that other opportunity. Those are just some off the cuff things that we hear over and over and over again in HR, and especially in our minds if we're being really, really honest with ourselves. So again, I just want to welcome everybody. We're about 7 minutes in, and I want to get everybody warmed up on the chat a little bit. I want to know, in addition to what Patty's celebrating, and we're all celebrating with Patty, I want to know what you're personally celebrating today. What one accomplishment are you really proud of that you've already executed on today or already accomplished today? Our brains are so hardwired to beat ourselves up, to stay in our own way. And part of neuroplasticity is about rewiring our brains. That our neurons that fire together wired together. So when we put systems in place to really focus on things that are going well, on things that we have accomplished, and we make that a daily practice, our lives can totally start to change. The way we show up at work, what we experience in the 9 to 5 realm of work, if we're lucky enough to work 9 to 5, right? So what's an accomplishment you are super, super proud of today? Patty, is there another one?
Are you asking us to say it out loud?
Tanya, yeah, have at it.
Oh, go ahead.
I stayed calm and professional on my latest trials and tribulation email. I was trying to help someone, and as usual, because we're the messenger, I got blamed, and the guy sent an email to everyone on the team saying that, well, since HR can't do her job, but I stayed calm, stayed collected, stayed professional. Everybody's happy except me now.
Okay. So maybe, I love that. I love that you stayed calm and professional because it is so easy, especially in today. And we'll talk about this, that expectation of immediate responses, the pressure we put on ourselves, that societal expectation. We've got Slack, we've got everything that we're really just expected to, we think we're expected to get back to people. And I love that you took whatever time it took for you to respond versus react. Huge kudos to you on that. And it sounds like there's still a little bit of work for you to be doing in terms of, well, I'm the only one who's unhappy. And the only one, right? You said everybody else is happy, but now I'm unhappy.
Well, no,
And-
I've been unhappy since I heard that I can't do my job. But the problem that I'm frustrated about now is that everybody on that email chain has that perception now that Tanya screwed up. Tanya did something wrong and harmed this person's life, and now they're going to see me through that filter if ever I actually do something wrong. And of course, the guy who in question never did jump on and say, oh, let me own responsibility for saying something, and to say, oh, hey, I'm sorry for saying that out loud. She actually, even if he said nothing else, just apologize her. That's all.
Okay.
Not really,
Okay.
not really unhappy, just disappointed.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah. But this is a very, it's like you and I spoke before we started today's workshop, because that is a very frequent story that we tell ourselves in HR, that because somebody said something kind of nasty about us in HR, that everybody else is going to see it through that other person's lens. And that's actually not necessarily true. Because the way we show up in HR, how we present ourselves, how you presented yourself in that email, I'm just wondering, is it possible that other people said, damn, she is professional, and he is the one who kind of is obviously going through something, but he's blaming and shaming her, and she's not taking it personally, and she's showing up like a pro. That is a consummate HR professional. That is an HR person I know I can trust, because she's not taking things personally. I'm giving you another possible perspective. How's that
No,
land
that's very
as I
helpful.
say
Thank
that?
you. That's
Okay.
very helpful. Thank you.
How is it helpful? Walk everybody through how that's helpful for you.
Because it gives me hope that I don't have to undo what just in my original thought, I thought, oh God, now I've got more work to do trying to change the perception of HR in this company. So it just gives me hope that there's nothing extra to do, that maybe people do notice what a consummate professional I try to be, or, so that was helpful.
Who
Gave me
thinks
hope.
Tanya knocked it out of the park by staying calm and responding? Anybody else proud of her? Anybody else ever thrown out an email that you wish you could take back, and it was unprofessional, and you kind of sunk to that person's level? Look at Patty's face. She's like
I
laughing.
did. But sometimes just when you read the subject title of the email, like people can just be, I don't know. It's just, I just question a lot of people need to reread their emails before they send them. But I look at them, even when I'm glancing at my phone, because I told you that after 6 or whenever I'm done, whenever I leave, I still
Yes.
at my email. I may not answer everything, but I still glance, because otherwise it gives me anxiety. So I glance at those, and they're emails that I glance, and I'm like, I'm not gonna reply to that person right now, or that
Yes.
person deserves my answer tomorrow. Maybe not first thing, but probably afternoon.
Yeah.
It's be kind, and people are going to move, and they're going to want to help you. If you're just being, rude and demanding, and you're probably not going to be put at the priority of the list of answering emails, it's just, they're just doing that to themselves.
Right. Yeah. I think, Tanya, we can all relate to that. My hat is off to you. Super impressive. And I have, I think you all know, I co-lead a podcast every single Monday. May not have made it on Monday when I was traveling to my series of planes to come back stateside. But the topic was on exactly what we're talking about today. So my co-host Jen Trum did a survey. She's got a Facebook group of 15,000 HR women, just HR women. And so here, I just want to share the top responses that these HR, out of the 15,000 women, I don't know how many responded. I don't have that data, but these are like the top 8 reasons HR women feel like they have to unlearn something to get out of their own way. You guys I just want to give you these snippets just to get your brains going a little bit. And before I do that, I'm going to back up a little bit. I want to acknowledge JRS calling in from Durham. She's celebrating a really great training she did for People Ops Meetup last night about resiliency and self-trust. I'm so glad the discussion was rich and meaningful. Congratulations. Congratulations. Rebecca is giving Tanya some kudos. And Rebecca did say she left another meeting to attend this Zoom. So obviously this space, this safe zone, this judgment-free zone where we just come together once a week to learn something and try something else new out is huge and super important for a lot of us. So Rebecca, so glad you're here again. Welcome back. Welcome back. Laura's creating a new networking, learning, rejuvenation experience specifically for HR professionals in person. And I'm just going to out her right now. I was just on a call with Laura about this exact experience. And my mind, like, I blow my own mind all the time because I do a lot of self-coaching and I'm constantly unlearning things. I'm constantly taking a look at my thoughts and I'm like, well, is that totally true? And is that serving you? And Laura, what she's putting together, I'm going to leave it up to her to share what this is. But it is like the anti-snooze fest HR conference where you are freaking drained, you're freaking burned out. She's putting something together that I'd never heard of. And when she started talking about it, I'm like, oh my God, that's freaking brilliant. So I'll leave that up to her. Laura is on to something. I'm sure she'll be It's amazing. It's amazing what she's doing. Okay, how awesome that you told me about this meeting. I needed this clearly. Yeah, I love that. I love that. So Laura, I'm glad you invited Tanya, all of it. So happy. Okay. Okay, so here are the top 8. I don't know why I'm showing 10 fingers. Let's do this. We're doing top 8. Okay, top 8. I want to know on a scale of 1 to 10 if you can relate to this. 1 meaning you can't relate at all. Or 10 being, actually, that is something that I think I need to unlearn to get out of my own way. We ready? We ready for a little Valentine's Day polling? Okay. Perfectionism. Do you feel like you need to unlearn perfectionism? A 10 is a hell yeah, look out. That is my number 1. Or is it more of a 1 of not really my thing? I've been working on it, or I'm not a perfectionist. Look at that, right? Always super high with HR women. Always super high. Perfectionism. We've got some 5s in there. I like that. But look at that. Nobody's a 1. Nobody's like, nope, can't relate to that one. All right. So we're going to put a pin in perfectionism. Here's the best news before we go on to the next one. Perfectionism is learned. You are not born with that. You are not born a perfectionist. And when we do our HR Empower Hour on imposter syndrome, we go really, really deep into this. Perfectionism is just an indicator that you are suffering with constant narratives or frequent narratives of self-doubt. Makes sense, right? You're striving to prove yourself to yourself and to others, right? So Rebecca's saying it is learned and it's so hard to unlearn. Okay. So and Rebecca, we're just going to keep rolling with the comments as they come in. So I want you to notice when you're choosing, and Rebecca, I'm so glad you're being super honest, right? You're just sharing a thought that has come up for you. And often we choose the thought of, yeah, and it's so freaking hard. So a couple of options when that thought of it's so hard to unlearn that. One is, well, that's an interesting thought. Is it truly hard? Or is it not that hard? Right? That is just a thought that it's hard. Okay. And our thoughts inform our experiences inform our thoughts. So if we continue to choose a thought such as it's really hard and we have an aversion to doing hard things, we're probably going to stay in that cycle of unlearning. We're going to find some comfort in it. But I'm my unique human being, just like everybody else on this call. And I actually like doing hard things. I actually I run ultra marathons. I became an entrepreneur. I mean, entrepreneurship is not for the faint of heart whatsoever, right? So when we choose that thought of it's really, really hard, sometimes that's an indulgent thought that's going to keep us stuck. So just notice if you're having it. But if you're somebody like me who says, yeah, it's super hard, I don't find that to be a disempowering thought. But if it's disempowering for you and it's keeping you sort of stuck in that it's too hard. It's too hard for me to unlearn. That thought will be true for you forever and always. So just notice it. The very first thing we have to do, the very first thing to get out of our own way by unlearning is just noticing. Noticing where we're feeling stuck, but what thoughts we're choosing to keep us stuck. Does that help? Does everybody see how our thoughts, I mean, we've talked so much about this in HR Empower Hour. So for anybody who's new to this concept, our thoughts inform our feelings, feelings inform behaviors, behaviors inform results. This is like what I learned in Coaching 101. Okay, thoughts inform feelings, feelings inform behaviors, behaviors inform results. Okay, so our thought, our power move in HR Empower Hour is just noticing if our thoughts are junk food or health food. All right, just noticing that. So I just went off on a tangent. I'm putting perfectionism as something we're definitely going to come back to. Okay, because we're going to do a deeper dive into perfectionism on that one. The next one, this is number 2 of 8 that we learned from the survey of HR women truly from around the globe. Another thing that we feel as though as HR women we need to unlearn is the go, go, go mentality. You're not contributing unless you are producing mass amounts of work. Okay? You're constantly on the go. And it's almost as if we wear a badge of busyness. We do a whole HR Empower Hour on that. Stop being so busy. But go, go, go. Who, scale of 1 to 10, 10 is like, oh, that's mine. By the way, this was mine. I was go, 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 go. Still working on it. Still working on it. That was my 10. So if you can relate to that one, give it a 10. If you're like, nope, I really know how to pace myself. I use time blocking, whatever it is. Look at that. Those are high too. Okay. Oh my gosh, Tanya, I love it. I think in acronyms too. So yeah, thoughts inform beliefs, beliefs inform, thoughts inform feelings, feelings inform behaviors, and behaviors inform results. Yeah, I love that. Okay.
It's so cool. It was a guru class that I was on, and as you were talking, I'm like, oh my God, I've heard this before.
Yeah. It's based on behavioral science and neuroscience, things that have really only come about in the last 40 years or so. So you're not going to see this in any old school leadership or management books. It's very new. It's very progressive. And once I learned this, talk about getting out of my own way. Talk about finding so much power in unlearning. No shame. It's just like, oh, I've just been telling myself this for a long time. I've been believing it. It's not necessarily true. So what else is possible, right? We start to blow our own minds a little bit. Okay, we're going to put a pin in go, go, go as well. Go, 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 before we move on, comes from what I call you stress, like you and me stress. Go, go, go. I have rarely met a boss who says to an HR professional, female or woman, you need to be working harder. You need to be producing more. Because of the way we have been socialized as women, we come like, we are just taught that at an early age. To compete in a man's world, so to speak, you have to outproduce. You have to outperform to get even close to equal pay, to even get close to being offered that promotion or that recognition. So that go, 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 we think is just part of our DNA. That's also learned too. That's also learned too. So that's something we can unlearn 100%. And like I said, I'm still working on this one 100%. Okay. What about, this is the third one. What about immediately responding? Right? I mean, do any of you feel like you have to respond right away, whether it's in Slack, whether it's in email, whether it's in phone calls? If somebody comes to your door, do you have a minute? I mean, how many times, right? So we're getting Tanya's off the charts, 10 times to infinity. I love that. We're going to do a little infinity on this Valentine's Day. Joanna, 9, Rebecca, 5, Jamie is a 6. Yeah, and it depends for Patty. She's like, hold up. Just totally depends, because Patty's got her systems in place that she was telling us about earlier. Love that. Love that. What it is and who it is. Right. Right. So some of us, maybe we've told ourselves the narrative that, well, in HR, my job is to serve. In HR, my job is to be there for people. And we are constantly struggling with our boundaries, reprioritizing all the time. And we get caught up in really kind of recent societal expectations of that immediate response. We just had a conversation last night about call waiting. Brett, my partner, his cousin is in town. And we were just saying, gosh, wouldn't it be nice to go back to call waiting, where you're not walking around with this thing in your hand, and when it pings, you feel the need to respond. And then people start saying, are you okay? Where are you? What's going on? And it's like, I'm on a 30-minute lunch break. That's it. That's what I'm doing. I went to the bathroom, right? It's crazy. And we all fall prey to it. And conversely, we expect that immediate response from others as well. And when we're in that immediacy, when we're falling prey to that, we tend to do the opposite of what Tanya described, and we tend to react. And we'll shoot things off that aren't well thought through, right? So just noticing whether we're responding or reacting, and if that relates to us. Okay, here's the fourth one. Unhealthy boundaries. Who needs to unlearn some unhealthy boundaries? Or maybe a lack of boundaries. Tanya's saying she's a 6. Yep. Who else? Rebecca's saying a 7. Yeah, oftentimes Patty's saying a 7, Laura's saying 7. So not as high on boundaries. And we won't go too deep into that because we're doing a whole session. Next week's session is on boundaries boot camp. So not super high for this group. I love that. I love that. You're like, no, what we talked about earlier was much higher. Okay, let's keep going then. What about people pleasing? Does the people pleasing lead you to saying things? I kept thinking about people pleasing recently, and I ran into an old director I worked with. She was a sales director. She's soon to retire. And I remember trying to help her through an employee relations issue. And because of my need to people please, I didn't coach her in a very effective way. When she said to me, I'll never forget it, she said, you know, I'm sure there are things I could have done differently. I'm sure there are ways I could have shown up differently. And guess what I said? Can anyone take a guess? If I'm a people pleaser, anyone take a guess how I responded to that? I'm sure you did great. It was great. Don't worry about it. As opposed to, she cracked the door open for some coaching. And because I didn't want to upset her, I was operating from a place of fear. I wanted to maintain that, that camaraderie, that connection, that respect, whatever adjective you want to throw out there. And there was that was a missed opportunity, because I was coming from a place of fear. And people pleasing is coming from fear 100% of the time. I just listened to a long podcast about people pleasing last night, and it comes from fear. It comes from whatever that fear sounds like for you. Do you want to be liked? I mean, Tanya was just saying, you know, I want people to, and this is a total paraphrase, Tanya, but you want people to respect you. You don't want people looking at you through that lens of, this HR person doesn't know what she's doing. Right? So people pleasing
Kathy,
can hit a lot of us hard. Yeah.
so last week we had a meeting with our entire HR hospitality team. So people flew from Denver, from Idaho.
Yeah.
And you know, it was all of us meeting here, which is great because we don't have a lot of opportunities for all of us to be
Totally.
like physically in person in the same room, because a lot of our meetings we meet bi-weekly via Teams. So it was nice to see them in person.
Oh, I love that.
We had a facilitator, and you know, and
Oh,
we
I
talked
met
a
him,
lot
Mike
about
Miller.
yes, Michael.
I met him. He's amazing.
He was with us the entire week. And one of the things that part of the conversations, I don't know how we got to talk about this, but we were talking about friends at work and how HR's job can be, you know, isolated, and it can feel very lonely. It can feel like you cannot build that camaraderie, like that, you know, that somebody that you can joke around with. I mean, it's just, you just have to be very careful. So you can be friendly, but you cannot be as friendly or a true friend with some people, because it just depends. You know, you have to look at the level of the positions. I mean, it's just, you know, and I actually found it very interesting when I work with, you know, different generations, and I work with different generations of HR professionals. And, you know, I've seen some people that is like, no, I cannot absolutely have friends. And they're like super serious, and it's like
Yes.
transactional, and they don't share anything about their lives. And it's just like that. And then I've seen, you know, some other HR professionals that, you know, they can have that work relationship, but then they're like, okay, it's 5 o'clock, my HR hat is off. You know, people are going out, and, you know, it's like, okay, that person goes out too. And, you know, very upfront, it's like, I'm going to
Yeah.
party with you guys. My HR hat is off. But if I hear or I see anything that it's like an absolutely thing that you shouldn't be, like, I'm going to tell you just so I can continue to party at peace. But, but like, and there's people that do that. And I'm like, so I've seen both, and I kind of take a little bit from both places, just to try to find a balance, because otherwise it can get, you know, it can get very lonely. And you do need to have like some friends that, you know, here that you can joke around, that they know you a little more than others, or that you feel more comfortable opening up about certain
Yeah.
aspects of your life. I mean, you're not going to tell them all your true story and your true colors, but you can say, hey, you know, I did enjoy a nice meal with my husband this day. I went to this restaurant, it was really nice. What do you think? I don't know, just like friendly conversation that it doesn't get too deep. I think we were talking about that, and we were just realizing the struggle of how lonely it can get. So between us, our HR group, we are very close, even though one is in Denver,
Yeah.
in Idaho, one sits in Aspen, the other one in Snowmass. Like, even though we're far away, we're very, very close at sharing, you know, because sometimes, like, that's our little support group. That's the only people that we can share with.
Yeah. Yeah. You know, it's funny, Patty, because I do teach a workshop on how to stop being so lonely in HR. I don't remember exactly when it's coming up in the year. And you just articulated another possible narrative that some people may want to start untelling themselves, unlearning. If somebody does want to connect at work, I'm flashing back to leading this workshop a year ago. And there was a woman who was saying, I eat lunch. She works in HR. She's not on this call right now. She's lovely. And she said, I eat lunch at my desk because I don't know what people are saying about me outside of my office. So these narratives that we tell ourselves, are they adding to the loneliness, I understand like there, you know, there's a certain amount of professionalism that we need to lead with in HR, 100%, 100%. But does that really prohibit us from forming friendships in the workplace? Maybe, maybe not. But the thoughts we choose can either keep us feeling lonely or they can set us free. We can start to have conversations like Patty just shared about talking about this restaurant that we went to with our spouse, with our partner, with our significant other. And there are certain safety zones that how we show up, the topics we choose to talk about in HR that don't cross lines. And I think sort of, I'm curious, I actually want to ask Laura if she'd be willing to unmute. I don't know if she will, but I feel as though the loneliness in HR comes from generations of HR professionals saying, you can't have friends at work. You can't have friends at work. And I led with that for the first 20 years of my career. And then my last 5 years in my 9-to-5 role, I had friends at work for the first time in my HR career, because I said, you know what? I'm done with that. There are people here I really care about, and I'm still friends with them to this day, 10 years later. So I'll leave it at that. Laura, what you got, girl?
I was just gonna say, for me, it was a very fine line when I was actually an employee for an organization. I struggled with this a lot, but at the time I was building my family and I was pregnant 3 times at one job.
Oh my gosh.
And so you start to develop those relationships, because I would bring the kids in with me once in a while and they would get to know them. And so people do start to form relationships. But I will say that, and honestly, the group of us, there were probably 40 of us that grew pretty close together. And we are actually, after I left in 2009, 12,
Okay.
12, we are getting together for a reunion in May for this company that's no longer in existence. They got bought out 2 or 3 times.
Wow.
But how crazy is that? I've never had a reunion with a work family before, even though I don't like that term at all. It's more of a work community. But we did keep it professional. They were more professional relationships, but you still build bonds with people.
Yeah.
And so I think you can have a little bit of both, but you still got to be careful of what you.
I know. Fine
Are you-
line.
Yeah.
Fine line. Yeah. You just totally articulated exactly what Patty was just saying too. Yeah. Fine line for sure. How we show up. Yeah. We can do a deeper dive on that one, but that's a great one for sure. For sure, that loneliness. And that is another reason why we do HR Empower Hour. It's like we get to come together an hour a week, take a beat, and be like, all right, I get to be myself. It's so refreshing. I don't know. At least that's how I show up to this call. I don't know about you guys. Anybody else show up that way? Like, okay, I'm just going to take a break. I'm just going to take a breath. I love that. I love that. Okay. Number 6. I'm practicing my fingers, apparently. Number 6. On that poll that Jen Trum did, what about not taking things personally? Tanya, you started us off with such a great example of this. Like not taking things personally when somebody blames and shames us in HR, or they take their frustration out on HR, or even when leadership doesn't heed our advice. We say, we probably shouldn't terminate this person for X, Y, and Z reasons. They're protected under Title VII, blah, 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 blah. And leadership says, nope, we're letting them go right now. Right? That's not personal. It's not personal. So does anybody take things, I'm just curious, do you take things personally? And is that something you maybe need to unlearn? 10 being, oh yeah, I take things very personally. Tanya. Tanya's coming out with the real number. She's like, so prior to 8 a.m. this morning, I love that. Okay, look at that. Very common. Very, very common. And Laura's saying, I used to do this and I did unlearn this. So now I'm probably a 2 or 3. 10. This is my thing to unlearn, capital letters thing. So for anyone who's new to HR Empower Hour today, right before the end of this session, I'm going to put, it's called a type form. It's a link. And all you do is go in there. I call it a coaching questioning sequence for a customized action plan. So you're going to take what you've learned today, fill out the sequence. Just all you're going to do is answer questions. And by filling out those answers, you will come up with your own customized action plan. And you're going to target what you need to unlearn, and you're going to put an action plan together to unlearn it, just to experiment. All right? Because unlearning takes practice. Just like learning takes practice, unlearning takes practice. We're not talking about like an 8-hour-a-day commitment. Small hinges swing big doors. So the whole point of today, the whole point of that type form that you're going to get a link to at the very end is just try to experiment with something that's a little bit new. Laura, would you mind sharing how you unlearned not to take things personally? Because I've got mine too. This was a big, guys, I was diagnosed with general anxiety disorder. Like I had to go on medication because I was so anxious at work because I took everything personally, super personally. So Laura, I want to hear from you. Let's hear it. How'd you unlearn this one?
There were a couple different things that had started happening. I was in a role where the senior leadership was not listening. They may have heard me, but they weren't acting upon anything I recommended. And it
Yep.
was just, do you,
Anyone relate to that one?
Yeah. And I got to a point where I was like, okay, I need to step back a second because like you said, it's not personal. It is, I had to disconnect my feelings from it and understand the business case and try to understand where they're coming from. It was kind of like putting myself in their shoes. It started from there, and then there were more things that had progressed, which like really pushed me to unlearn. But that was one of the first pieces of it that really struck me.
Yeah. Jamie, how does that land for you?
Well, I hear you loud and clear.
Irony.
Yeah, more to work on for sure.
Yeah.
You have to want to disconnect too. And then if you don't mind me adding one more little detail.
Do it.
I learned that my job wasn't who I was. That's the difference maker for me. That was the final straw. That was like, you are not who you are just because of your job.
Yeah.
And when that happened and that occurred, so like I said, it was little steps, baby steps. But then once I got to that point, you realize it's okay. It's okay.
Yeah.
I agree 100,000% with that. And Kathy, we talked about this before. I don't remember if it was on a Thursday session or if it was on one of these sessions, but
yeah,
we were talking about mindfulness and meditation and those things. And when COVID was happening, I remember that, I was working from home like a lot of people, like everybody. It was just that. And there wasn't a lot of things to to do. So then it was like most of my time was invested in doing my job. So it was very important for me to get my job done and get it done right. And at the same time, your bosses were not around you. So how were you proving that you were doing your job? How are you making sure that they didn't doubt that you were doing your job and that you were actually, at that, working from 9 to 5 or whatever it was, which I was actually working later. But like there was a lot of uncertainty and there was a lot of those feelings of like needing to prove yourself and needing to prove that you were not slacking and just etc. So I was feeling very down. I was like, all I'm doing is my job. I disconnected from the person who I am and the things I like to do because those things that I like to do were not available and we couldn't do them. I had to get creative and I had to like like taking dancing lessons in my, in my house. I learned to play an instrument in my house. Like I did all of these things to connect me with the things I like doing. And then I was like, no, I need to talk to somebody because, not being able to go to Peru and see my family.
Yeah.
It was just a lot of things. And I started talking to a mental health specialist, and they were like trying to uncover like, why am I working so much? And it was exactly what Laura was saying. And this person told me, it seems like you're building, or you're putting a lot of your identity on that work, and that's not who you are, and that shouldn't be that way. So I was putting all of this effort at excelling at a job that nobody was seeing that I was doing except for Zoom calls.
Mm.
And I was completely not taking care of like the real person that I am. And yeah, that's why I relate with that immediately, because doing that took away those feelings of feeling like, like taking things personally, or beating myself up when something was not going right, or, analyzing and reanalyzing why something went the wrong way, or why somebody said something to me, and like thinking constantly, did I do something wrong? What could have I said better? Like, what could have I done better? Like, and all of those things just completely changed when I realized, no, my job is an aspect of me. It's where I use my skills that I've learned, but it's not me. I'm all of these other things that I do need to work on, and you can't forget about that. That's what you need to also continue to work on.
Okay, you had some gold in there, Patty. You said, I want to know who else can relate to what Patty just shared about analyzing and reanalyzing. So Tanya, with your example this morning, I'm just curious, how much time have you spent? Did I say the right thing? Did I do the right thing? What does this mean about me? Am I a good HR person? Am I not a good? Like, how much time and brain power have you spent going in and out of self-doubt?
So today it was easy. I had back to back to back meetings and then this webinar. So I didn't have time to. But in all fairness, I would have been mulling on this, like, how do I fix this? Oh my God, this is a disaster. Well, how do and then I get on here and you're like, this is nothing. And I'm like, wow, maybe it is nothing. And here I would have spent the whole day thinking, what a disaster. My career is over. I'm blacked off from
Totally.
HR. I don't know.
And I want
I'm
to,
totally exaggerating.
I know, but it's funny because if you look at people who are on camera right now, we're right there with you. We're all like, yep, me too. Am I getting me too's from a lot of people on this call? Yeah. And here's the thing. We're not broken and there's nothing wrong with us. It's just our brain doing what our brain does. So when we just start noticing, oh, here I am again, in what Patty described as this analysis, reanalysis phase, right? Analysis paralysis, just going over and over in that rumination. Again, that's really specific to women. Men don't tend to suffer with rumination like we do as women. And it's rooted in self-doubt. And when we don't have, there's a difference between confidence and worthiness. And when we understand and really start working on our worthiness that comes from within, again, that's just practice. Working on that worthiness is almost that antidote to taking things personally. Because when we know we're doing, like Patty was saying, Patty had a very specific shift, like, I'm not my job and I'm good at my job. Totally paraphrasing. Patty did not say that. Patty, would you say that's accurate? Did I paraphrase correctly? Kind of, sort of, in a roundabout way. Yeah. Yeah. And so I just want to articulate, especially for you, Jamie, since this, I loved your response. 10, this is my thing to unlearn. So what we're all sharing and how we've unlearned it, it may be helpful for you, but it's just advice. And I think knowing that you need to unlearn it, you're going to come up with it. You're going to put your systems in place and you're going to experiment with it. And I know I've shared this with the thing that worked for me that may work for others, it may not, who knows, was that book, The Four Agreements by Don Miguel Ruiz. And one of his 4 agreements is don't take things personally. And then in his book, the follow-up book, The Fifth Agreement, and I've shared this a couple times on the call, Patty, this may have been what you were talking about. The greatest battle we will ever have in this lifetime is the battle in our own brain. And what Tanya just described, we're not doing anything wrong. It's just we never take the time, like on this call, to say, whoa, that's just a narrative. Whoa, there's like, is that fact-based? Is that totally true? And same with taking things personally. It's like, here I am again. Like, what's going on? Why am I taking this so personally? And the first thing we have to do is notice. And then we have to figure out how we work ourselves out of that. And the way I recommend doing it is choosing a thought, like identifying what you want to be feeling, identifying your outcome, and coming up with a thought that does serve true for you and just practicing that thought. I love Tanya's thought of, well, maybe that's not true. Well, maybe that thought's not true. Right? As opposed to going from, oh my God, I'm so broken, I can't unlearn this, that type of disempowered thinking, to, oh yeah, I totally got this, no problem. Most people, sometimes that happens, but most people, we just need a little bit of a shift. And once we hit that shift and that gets comfortable, we start wiring our neurons, right? It's a rewiring of the brain. So when you start believing that thought, you're going to start experiencing things differently. And for me, just going back to, oh my God, if I have this big of a battle going on in my brain, and other people are having the same battle in their brain, how could it ever be personal? Because people are dealing with their own thought narratives, their own thought loops, and they're never going to be just like ours. So when we approach it with curiosity, when we stop saying, oh, this is not about me, it's actually, what's the other one? When people say things about us, it says more about them than it does about us. And I love, and it's so true. So for what the example Tanya started us off with this today, that was not about her. That said so much about the gentleman who wrote the email to everybody know what they think about HR. That said nothing about Tanya and everything about him. Who really truly believes that in your heart of hearts? Yeah? So Jamie, when we hold on to that, does that help you start saying, oh my God, it's never personal? Does it start to move the needle a little bit? I'm wondering what thoughts have come up for you that are working for you right now.
Well, during our coaching session that we had last week, I told you about that one email that I got where one of my coworkers kind of blew up like they did with Tanya, and then ended it with a great big whatever in all caps.
That's right.
Yep. And then tagged like 5 other leader coworkers, and everybody came to me going, wow, what a teenager. Who is that guy? What does he have going on? And so I can totally relate. So at first I was like, oh my God, how embarrassing. Everybody thinks that they're on his side or whatnot. And it turns out they weren't. And they were all like, what? Hope he's okay. There must be something going on.
Bingo.
Yeah.
Bingo. You just hit, I'm not on TikTok. I don't know where I saw this, probably on like Instagram or something. But when we're able to like step into that observer and not take things personally and turn to the person and say, are you all right? Mm-hmm. And mean it genuinely, not in a condescending way, not in a slap across the face kind of way, not sarcastically, not judgmentally, truly wondering, are you all right? Yeah. Sometimes people will you will start to see behind the armor. And maybe they are okay. Maybe something else is going on. Who knows? Maybe they're all right. It's never about you. 100% of the time. It's kind of wild. Yeah. Okay. All right, two more. And I guess we're not going to be circling back on things because look at the time. Okay. Oh God, this is so me. Okay. Emotional attachment to the job. Who's got that one? Really? Jay Russ went off the charts with 100.
I wouldn't say to the job, I'll say more to the people in the job.
Who
when
can
I
relate
think
to
about,
Patty? The
'cause
people?
I think
Yeah.
about the job and I think about the people, like,
Yeah.
you know, different things that we do and how different people need us in different ways.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Look at Tanya's response. It's like 3 to the job, 10 to the people. And I've said this a million times, and it still holds true, right? I'm meeting HR people all the time, and I still have yet to meet an HR person whose answer to why did you get into HR is anything other than because I want to help. I want to help people. That's why we all went into this profession. So yeah, that emotional attachment to people, if it's working for you, if it's serving you, great. But if it's creating something like general anxiety disorder, if there is a negative consequence on the end of it, right? If it's leading to you working a ton of hours, taking phone calls at 3 o'clock in the morning, maybe just 6 o'clock in the morning, maybe checking our emails at 10 o'clock at night, you know, is that being driven by emotion? And coaches in the coaching industry would say, yes, everything we do in this lifetime, we are trying to achieve a certain emotion or a certain feeling. So when we just recognize it and say, okay, what am I missing? What's this emotion I'm trying to bring forth? There's usually a different way to do it. Usually a different way to do it. So we can unlearn that one too. Okay, and here's the last one. Who feels like you have to have all the answers and all the solutions? Pretty common for people in HR. Rebecca saying, yep. Laura saying 10. Joanna saying 7. Yes. It's another common one. I love that Tanya's splitting it out. She's like, here we go. 4 for the answers and 10 for the, I love it. Yes. 4 for the answers, 10 for the solutions. Yeah. Yeah. To you saying 3. Okay. J Russ. Oh, that's the one I feel pretty good about. I'm more like a 2. All right, TU and J Russ, you guys are good. You're good. You're seeing on the low side of that one. Yeah. Yeah. And I think, again, if this is your big one, doesn't sound like anyone's like 10 off the charts. We're human resources. We are resourceful. So maybe we don't have it all up here, but we're not supposed to. We have access to FLSA regulations, we have access to Elite HR connections. We can go on to Laura's site and pull up information like this that she has collected for us in a non-SHRM type of way. If anyone is thinking that SHRM, you know, love SHRM, we all love SHRM. They're a great body. And yet, a lot of people have this sense of, I mean, it's sort of why I started HR Empower Hour. I kept going to the SHRM conferences, learning the same things over the course of 25 years. And I was like, I get it, but this stuff doesn't work. It's kind of archaic and there's new science going on. And that's the stuff that actually works. So being resourceful. J Russ, because you're a member of HR Empower Hour, you have a membership to Elite HR Connections. So I'm going to send you that link after class. Rebecca's got to go. Busy day. So glad you were here, Rebecca. Oh, let me put the link for anyone who does need recertification credits. So today, today's HR Empower Hour and all HR Empower Hours are pre-approved for 1.25 SHRM recertification credits and then 1.25 HRC recertification credits. So all you do is you click on this link. I'll send a follow-up email as well, just in case, you know, something happens, but I'll send a follow-up email to everybody. You just click on this link, go through the questioning sequence, put together your own personal customized action plan, because it's going to be different than everybody else on this call. And then there you go. You'll be off and running on your own, just small step toward unlearning what you need to unlearn. Boy, this went in a different direction than I thought it would, but that's how these usually go. And I love all the discussion. How did you all think today went? TU said thank you with lots of explanations. I love that. And I love the Bay Bridge behind you. Awesome. I think is that the Bay Bridge? Yeah, I love it. I love it. J. Russ loved it. Okay. Lots of claps. It was a good one. Exclamation. Very useful for Tanya. Okay. I'm so glad. Thank you for coming today. Next week's on boundaries. It sounds like nobody's really having boundaries issues, but if you want to come next week, great. We will be back to Tuesdays, 2 o'clock Eastern, 12 o'clock Mountain Time for the rest of the year, because I have no real vacations coming, except I'll be hanging out with Laura at her soon to be announced retreat in Charleston, South Carolina, October 21st and 22nd. Sorry, I had to do it. You guys, it's, oh my God. I can't wait. It's like the anti-conference for HR professionals. Okay. Thank you all so much. And anyone who's a member of HR Empower Hour, don't forget we do coaching every Thursday, same time. And if you want to join HR Empower Hour, if you'd like to do some weekly coaching, which is different than this, just let me know and we'll get you all signed up and squared away. That's it. Bye, everybody.